The laughter was ugly. It crawled through the thin wall like a cold hand and squeezed the small muscles in Amara's back. "Man, I told you," Darius bragged, voice bouncing off the glass of the living room. "She works 5 jobs now. My own personal slave." I say jump, she asks, "How high?" "Debt gone. Life good." Another voice, Theo's, smooth as new tires on wet road, whistled. "Bro, that's wild. You ain't even have to lift a finger." "Why would I?" Darius said low and proud. "She's built for grind. All heart, no fight." The words hit like falling bricks. Amara had paused in the hallway, keys still in her hand, grocery bag digging into her palm. She tasted detergent and stale air. For a full breath she thought she had misheard. Maybe he said partner, not slave. Maybe he was joking, showing off like high school boys chasing attention. But Darius laughed again, louder, freer, and clapped like he had told the best joke in a barbershop. "I told her the loan sharks were coming, so she went out there like Wonder Woman. Night shift cleaning. Morning shift at the bakery. Rideshare on afternoons. Home care in the evenings. Waitress on weekends. 5 jobs. And all that money went to fix my mess. You feel me? That's love." Theo made a sound like he approved. "That's control." It was all the proof Amara needed. The groceries slid down her arm and thumped the hallway runner, a small sound, but Darius fell silent. The living room lamp threw amber light across the doorway as Amara stepped in. She looked simple, quiet, like she always did after work. Dark jeans, loose sweater, sneakers that had walked more miles than a bus route. But her eyes were steady. "Come. Done." Theo saw her first. His smile tightened. "Hey, Amara. You home early?" She set the bag on the console table, straightened a picture frame out of habit. The wedding photo where Darius's palm lay heavy on her waist, and met her husband's eyes. "I was home on time," she said softly. "Just in the hallway listening to my life become your joke." Darius raised a hand like he could push the words away. "Babe, it's not like that." "It is exactly like that," she answered. 5 jobs. 5 jobs, Darius." He stood, trying to change the air with movement. He was handsome the way a billboard was handsome. Teeth bright, fade fresh, watch thick, cologne warm. He had always known how to fill a room with charm. Today it smelled like smoke from a fire he started and never bothered to put out. "Baby, I was just hyping you up," he said. "Theo don't know how hard you work. I'm proud of you." It was a joke. "Slaves are not jokes," Amara said. "My mother braided my hair with stories so I would know the difference." Theo shot a look at Darius. "I'll, grab us more ice." "No," Amara said. "Stay. I want you to hear this too." Theo froze beside the couch. Amara walked to the coffee table and laid down a thick folder. It landed with a dull thud. She lifted the cover. Inside were receipts, bank statements, payment confirmations, contract copies with red stamps. Each sheet was a mile of her soul. She touched the first paper. "This is the loan from the failed sneaker shop, the one with your cousin who ran to Dallas. I paid it off in 12 weeks. She touched another. "This is the credit card you used for bottle service and a weekend at the lake. 0 balance. Another. "This is the cash advance you took on my name when I was working the night shift. Clear. With interest." Darius tried to stand taller. "See? Exactly. You did that. You're strong." Amara looked up, tired of the dance. "I did that because men with soft voices and hard eyes stood outside our building and asked for you. I did that because I saw letters stamped with red, final notice, and I wanted to breathe again. I did that because I thought you would be grateful. I didn't do that to become your story about power." Darius opened his mouth, then shut it, confused by a tone he had never heard from her. She had always been gentle, always smoothing rough edges, always choosing peace in long roads. But something had shifted. Even the air felt different, like the house had turned to face the wind instead of hiding behind it. Theo's eyes slid to the door. "I should sit," Amara said. He sat. She pulled a smaller envelope from her sweater. It was cream paper with a clean fold, stamped by a notary. She placed it on the table like a glass of water in front of a man gasping for air. "Do you know what this is?" she asked. Darius tried to laugh. "Baby, I don't know. A receipt for all the work I need to thank you for?" "It's ownership," she said. "Not of you. Of your debt." Theo blinked. "Huh. I bought it," Amara said, simple as a door opening. "All of it." The room went quiet enough to hear the refrigerator hum. "I know you, Darius. I know you like the rush of something new with lights on it. I know you tell yourself you'll pay it back next month, then next year. So while I worked, I learned. I learned how these debts move. I learned that the company that held your biggest loan was ready to sell it for a discount to anyone with enough cash and the stomach for risk. She tapped the envelope. So I became the anyone. The company sold me your debt. Legally. The papers are here. Darius laughed, too loud this time, too forced. Girl, stop. That's not real. Amara slid the top sheet out and turned it so the notary seal faced him. It is real. He squinted, stepped closer, read the names. The laughter fell out of his mouth and fell to the floor. What does that even mean? He asked, voice shrinking. It means the man you feared, she paused, now looks like me in the mirror. It means the person you owed has my last name. It means when you call me slave, you forget I learned how chains are made and how keys look. Theo let out a low sound. Yo. Darius's face shifted from disbelief to irritation to something raw. You did this to punish me. I did this to protect what's left, Amara said. To make sure no one else takes from our home. But also to wake you up. Because sleep has become your best friend. He paced. So what? You gonna have me thrown out? You gonna take my car? You gonna what? Charge me interest like a bank? Amara's voice stayed even. I don't want your car. I want your honesty. I want your work. I want your respect. And if I can't have them, I want my peace. Your peace? After everything I've been through? He cut himself off, hearing how weak it sounded next to the weight of her days. Let me speak, she said. He threw his hands up. Speak then. Amara nodded toward the folder. There is a plan inside. Not to shame you. To rebuild. You will sell what can be sold without cutting muscle. You will get one job you keep. You will put money into a house fund every week. You will meet with a counselor from church because debt is not just numbers, it is hunger dressed like pride. You will sign. And you will not use the word slave like it is a toy. Theo couldn't help it. He whistled again, soft. She wrote terms. Darius's chest rose. And if I don't sign? Amara's eyes didn't flinch. If you don't sign, we will separate. Claim. I will not carry your mess while you call me your mule. I will not bleed for a man who laughs at the stain. He smirked. Old habit, new fear. You're bluffing. Amara shook her head. I was bluffing the first time I cried and the second time I prayed you would change without help. This is not a bluff. A car door closed outside. Footsteps climbed the stairs with steady rhythm. The sound pulled everyone's gaze to the front door. Darius frowned. Who's that? Amara checked the time on her phone. On schedule. The knock was firm. Not angry, not rushed. Official. Theo shifted. Amara, who you call? She took a breath that seemed to clean her lungs. People who only come when you are sure. She moved to the door and opened it. Standing on the welcome mat was a woman in a navy blazer with a leather folder tucked under her arm, a small badge clipped to her lapel. Behind her, a second person held a sealed envelope. Mrs. Cole? The woman asked, voice clear. Yes, Amara said. Darius's posture stiffened. What is this? The woman looked past Amara and into the room. Mr. Darius Cole? He didn't answer. This concerns a private notice, she said, stepping in at Amara's nod. We attempted contact yesterday. We were told today would be appropriate. Are you Mr. Cole? Darius swallowed. Yeah. She offered the envelope. Papers regarding reassignment of debt and a proposed repayment agreement. Please read them. If you have counsel, we encourage you to involve them. Darius took the envelope. His fingers shook. Theo sat very still. The woman turned to Amara. We'll wait in the hall for signatures. Take your time. She stepped out and shut the door gently behind her. Silence hovered. It moved in with its suitcase and sat on the couch like a guest who knew the family well. Darius stared at the envelope as if it might bite. Then he tore the seal. He scanned the first page, the second, the neat paragraphs, the notary stamps, the words that made the air heavy. Assignment of debt. New creditor. Proposed repayment. Conditions for default. His eyes reached the last line and stopped. What is this? He whispered hoarse. What is this last part? Amara held his gaze. Read it. His lips formed the words slowly. If agreement is refused or broken. Transfer of. He looked up, but Amara did not save him. He looked back down and read the final sentence aloud, each word landing like a drumbeat the whole building could feel coming. If the agreement is refused or broken, immediate transfer of the debt-triggered collateral will be executed as outlined, effective at once. He raised his head. Collateral? What collateral? Amara's voice was quiet and steady. The thing you brag about most when you want to feel big. Darius blinked, confused, angry, scared. What did you put up, Amara? He demanded, breath fast now. What did you use as collateral? Before she could answer, another knock came, 3 short taps this time like a code that meant business. The doorknob turned. The second visitor stepped in with a clipboard and a camera bag slung across his chest. He looked at the envelope in Darius's hand, then at Amara. Ma'am, he said, we're ready to document the transfer if needed. Should we proceed to the garage first or the living room? Darius's face drained. The garage? Amara did not blink. The room held its breath. And then, with all eyes on her, Amara opened her mouth and said. The word, garage, hung in the room like a thundercloud. Darius tried to make a joke but it died on his lips. Ain't nothing in the garage but. He stopped. Everybody knew what was in the garage. Theo rubbed his jaw and stood halfway, then sat back down like the couch had caught his knees. Nah sis, you didn't? Amara didn't answer. She walked toward the hallway that led to the back door. Her steps were slow, calm, the way a nurse walks when a family needs truth. The man with the camera bag followed. Darius hesitated, then lunged after them. The hall was narrow, walls painted cream, framed with photos of a life that had gone sideways. Graduations, a church cookout in southwest Atlanta, a trip to Savannah where the sun made the water look like glass. At the end, a steel fire door opened to the small detached garage. The woman in the navy blazer waited by the door, clipboard tucked under her arm, eyes kind. Mr. Cole, she said, we'll document what we see, then you can sign either agreement or receipt. Your choice. My choice? He snapped, fear hiding in the hard edges. Where was my choice when you took a title loan against your car? Amara cut in, steady. Your choice was then. Darius blinked. How you? I read the papers you left on the coffee table last spring. The ones you hid under a pizza box. I saw the loan number. I learned the law. That loan never got paid. It got sold. To me. The woman pushed the door. Cool night air breathed into the hallway, carrying a faint smell of cut grass and oil. They stepped out. There it was, the '68 Mustang Fastback, pearl white with a black hood stripe. Darius's pride. His late father had bought it as a rusted shell and rebuilt it one summer at a neighbor's shop, teaching Darius how to hold a wrench and a plan at the same time. Darius had the car polished more than he had the truth. He washed it on Sundays like a ritual. He told people, this is me. He stared now as if the car were alive and might walk away if he blinked. The cameraman opened his bag and pulled out a form and a small body cam. Standard documentation, he said, soft, not cruel. He clipped the camera to his shirt pocket and turned it on. Darius spun toward Amara. You can't take this. Not this. I don't want to, she said. I want you to sign the plan. But you called me a slave to make yourself feel tall. I need you to look at the cost of that height. Theo hovered in the doorway, restless. He murmured, just sign the papers and keep the car, bro. Darius swallowed and squared his shoulders. I ain't signing nothing under threat. The woman nodded once, like a referee acknowledging a player's choice. Then we proceed. The cameraman raised his clipboard. Recording. Date. Time. Location. VIN confirmation begins. VIN? Darius repeated, dazed, as the man snapped a photo of the number stamped by the windshield. Amara's voice softened a fraction. Darius, please. Don't let pride drive what's already rolling downhill. He looked at her and saw no hate in her face, only fatigue and a line of steel that had not been there a year ago. He looked back at the car, saw his father's hands in the shine of the fender, heard an old voice saying, take care of what takes care of you. Pride answered first. Do what you gotta do. The cameraman nodded to the woman. Confirmed. The woman lifted her phone. A tow truck, quiet hybrid model, low hum, not the loud kind, slid to the curb like it had been waiting 2 streets away. The driver stepped out, hat low, friendly eyes. Evening, he said, respectful. Which unit? The Mustang, the woman replied. Darius moved, sudden, like he might throw himself on the hood. Theo grabbed his arm. Don't make it worse, he whispered. Don't give them a reason to call the police. Darius fought the grip, then sagged, breathing hard. He watched as the driver angled the truck, laid down soft straps instead of chains, and treated the car like a patient instead of a prize. It made it worse. The straps kissed the tires. The winch whirred, gentle but relentless. The Mustang climbed, the driveway felt longer than it ever had. Stop, Darius said once, just a word chewed up by night air. The driver paused and looked to the woman. The woman looked to Amara. Amara looked to Darius. Will you sign? She asked. He opened his mouth to say yes. Pride pushed no past his teeth. The driver nodded once and finished the lift. When the car settled on the bed, the driver secured it with care that felt like kindness and punishment at the same time. He walked over to Darius, left hand open. "Keys, sir." Darius's hand found his pocket as if it had memory. He pulled out the key fob. His fingers tightened. For a heartbeat he thought of running. Running where? Running why? He pressed the metal into the driver's palm like something hot. The driver didn't gloat. "Thank you." The woman wrote on her clipboard. "Receipt executed," she said. "Copy will be emailed and mailed." The driver climbed into the tow truck. The engine hummed. The truck rolled forward, turned, and left. The Mustang slipped down the street like a piece of his past, leaving for good. Silence moved in again. Behind them, a dog barked twice somewhere on the block, then went quiet. Theo let out a breath. "Bro?" Darius's face crumpled for a second, then trained itself back into a hard mask. He turned to Amara, voice low, dangerous, not to her but to the story he'd told himself. "You finished?" "No," Amara said. "This is the beginning." Inside, the house smelled like lemon cleaner and the stew she had started early before her shift. The woman in the blazer set her folder on the dining table. "There's one more item on the schedule tonight," she said. "But we can pause if you will sign." "Item?" Darius echoed, wary. Amara opened the folder. "The cash advance from last winter. The one from that investment guy you met at the gym. It wasn't only a loan. It was a contract tied to your digital assets." "My what?" "Your brand," she said. "Your channel. The pages where you post the car and the watches and the hustle talk. You offered a revenue share as collateral. The company that bought that contract sold it to me. Tonight, the payment routing changes." Darius blinked. "You mean, my ad money?" 50%, Amara said. "Until the balance is clear. That's what you signed." "I didn't add it. I only made sure it points to our home instead of some man with a mailbox in Delaware." Theo looked from one to the other. "She learned everything while you were sleeping late, D." Darius sagged into a chair. He stared at his own hands like he hadn't seen them in a while. Those hands had held a prom date in a borrowed suit, held a steering wheel like a crown, held a basketball net after a backyard win, held Amara's fingers on a day full of vows. Now they were empty. And shaking. Amara pulled out a glass of water, set it near him. He didn't touch it. "When did this start?" he asked, not looking up. "When you lost the sneaker shop," Amara said. "When your cousin left. When the men started visiting and your stories grew bigger than your plans. When I called the number on the red stamp and the woman told me, 'Ma'am, we can't discuss his account with you unless.' So I found a way to be the unless. I read during lunch breaks. I watched videos at 3 a.m. I called people who talked too fast and emailed people who used words I had to look up. I learned until the learning hurt. And all the while, you called me strong in public and a mule in private." He finally lifted his head. "I called you a joke tonight. I know what I said." "You did," Amara said. "Words are receipts, Darius. They don't expire." Theo lifted a hand, trying to lighten the air. "Look, y'all. Maybe this is a wake-up and we can all just." Amara turned to him. "You should stay quiet for the next part." Theo's mouth tightened. "What's that supposed to?" She drew a smaller envelope from the folder, this one addressed in neat handwriting, Theodore James Wells. She placed it on the table between them. "What is that?" he asked, forcing a laugh. "A party invite?" "It's a correction," Amara said. "For an old lie." Darius looked at the envelope, then at Theo. "What lie?" Amara didn't blink. "Theo sold you the investment guy, at the gym." Theo's smile froze. "Nah, sis. Why would I?" "You told him it was safe," she said, voice even. "You told him the returns were quick. The guy was your cousin's roommate. The three of you got a referral fee every time someone signed. Darius didn't lose money to a random man. He lost money to your circle." Theo lifted both hands. "Hold up. That's not." "The bank records don't stutter," Amara said. "I traced the Zelle transfers from the advance to 3 accounts. One was the investment company. One was a woman in Riverdale who withdrew and cashed the same day. One was your checking account, Theo. $50 here. $75 there. $400 once, for gas. 2 weeks later you bought those new speakers." Darius stared at Theo like the ground had moved. "You got paid for putting me in that mess?" Theo's eyes flickered, calculating exits. "It wasn't like that. It was a referral. Everybody gets a little out here. You know how it is." "Everybody?" Darius echoed, voice flat. "Or just you?" The woman in the navy blazer stayed still, professional, neutral. The cameraman had turned off his lens in the garage. Now he stood by the doorway, hands folded. Amara slid the envelope closer to Theo. "Open it." His fingers trembled as he tore the seal. Inside were printouts, routing numbers, amounts, dates, and a simple letter on a church letterhead. Theo read. His face lost color. "What is it?" Darius asked. Amara answered. "An agreement. If you return what you took within 14 days to the church benevolence fund, not to me, there will be no report to your job and no civil claim. If you don't, I will testify. The pastor will too. We already spoke." Theo looked up, eyes sharp. "You went to Pastor Joseph?" "I did," she said. "Because this is more than money. It is about what kind of men sit in our circle and call it brotherhood." He swallowed. "Amara, please. Don't do me like this." "Don't do who like what?" Darius asked quietly, anger cooling into something stronger. "You told me to put my title on the line and you took gas money to watch me drown." Theo stood, chair leg scraping. "I'm out." The woman in the blazer stepped aside to let him go if he chose. Amara did not move. Her voice, when she spoke, was not loud. It didn't need to be. "Sit down, Theo." He didn't. He looked at the door. He looked at Darius. He looked at the papers. Then he sank back into the chair like the cushions were made of truth. Amara placed a pen on the table. "Both of you have choices. Darius, you can sign the repayment plan now and keep this house calm. Theo, you can sign the acknowledgement and hand the church a cashier's check by Friday. Or you can both walk into the kind of storm that has no cover." She leaned back, hands flat on the table, steady. "I am done working 5 jobs to carry 2 men who call me strong, when they need me, and slave, when they don't." Darius looked at the pen. His throat worked. Theo looked at the letterhead, the pastor's name printed neat at the bottom. His lips moved but no sound came out. The woman in the blazer checked her watch. The house ticked. Then Theo's phone lit up on the table. An incoming call, a name on the screen that made Darius's jaw clench. It was the investment guy. Theo's thumb hovered, then he hit accept by reflex and put the call on speaker before anyone could stop him. "Yo," the voice crackled through, careless and confident. "We good for the next round? I got a new play. Easy money. Where your boy at?" Theo swallowed. He looked at Darius, at Amara, at the pen, at the letter, at the envelope full of proof. He cleared his throat, ready to lie. And that was when Amara reached out, tapped the speaker icon to keep the line open and said, cool and clear into the air, "Tell him we're all here." The line went quiet. "Who is that?" the voice asked, smaller now. Amara smiled without warmth. "The woman who bought your favorite game." Darius and Theo froze, every muscle held. "Which game?" the voice said, but the swagger had leaked out. Amara slid the repayment plan toward Darius and the church letter toward Theo. Her eyes did not leave the phone. "Say his name, Theo," she said softly. "Say it so we can all hear who has been eating from our table." Theo's lips parted. He spoke a name. And the front doorknob turned. The sound of the doorknob froze everyone. It turned slowly, a click, then another, like a warning before the storm. Darius's head snapped toward the door. Theo's hand twitched near his phone. Even the woman in the navy blazer stopped writing. The man with the camera instinctively reached for his lens again. The door opened. A tall man stepped in, his frame filling the doorway like a shadow had found legs. Light from the street lamps behind him carved the edge of his shoulders. He was in his early 30s, dark-skinned, bald, with sharp cheekbones and a gold chain flashing beneath his open collar. The smell of cologne and cigarettes came with him. His grin was slow, dangerous. "Seems like y'all having a family meeting." Theo's voice cracked. "Marcel, what are you doing here?" Marcel. The investment guy. The man whose schemes had started the fire Amara spent years putting out. He looked around the room with lazy amusement. His eyes landed on Darius, then on Amara. Well, the wife. The famous 5-job woman. He smirked. "You the reason my payday got delayed." Amara didn't move. "You're not welcome here." Marcel chuckled, pulling a folded paper from his pocket. "Oh, I think I am. See, your man here still owes me a small mountain. And when my phone said you called, I knew something was up." He waved the paper. "This is a friendly reminder." The woman in the blazer stepped forward. "Sir, I represent the current holder of that debt. You have no standing to collect." Marcel turned, eyes narrow. "Who you supposed to be?" "Legal facilitator," she replied evenly. "And as of last week, the debt belongs to Mrs. Amara Cole." Marcel blinked, then looked at Amara with disbelief that turned into laughter. "You bought it? You." He laughed so hard the paper shook in his hand. You working-class women, always thinking you can beat the game with paperwork? Sweetheart, this isn't chess. It's survival. Theo stood suddenly, panicked. Marcel, chill man. She's serious. She. Shut up, Marcel snapped, eyes flashing. You think I don't know you leaking my moves now? Theo froze. Amara folded her arms. Marcel, you've been running your mouth and your scam too long. I traced every cent. You'll find out soon the people you borrowed names from are tired. Marcel smirked, stepping closer. You think threats scare me? Darius finally spoke, voice low but sharp. They should. Because I'm tired too. The two men locked eyes, one drowning in pride, the other in anger. Marcel's smile faded. You got nerve, Darius. Last time I checked, you were begging me for extensions. I gave you money when the bank wouldn't touch you. You were the one smiling, saying, we're brothers. Darius clenched his fists. You didn't help me. You used me. Marcel leaned forward. Then what's this? You calling the woman who saved your skin your boss now? Ain't that cute? My wife owns my debt. He laughed again cruelly. Guess she really is your master. The words cut through the air like glass breaking. Amara's voice trembled only slightly when she answered. No, Marcel. I'm the mirror. You all built your power on her, on women like me. You talk about hustle while you drain every drop from the ones cleaning up after your dreams. Theo looked down at his hands, shame curling his shoulders. Darius's jaw tightened. Something broke in him, quietly but deeply. He stood, stepped between Amara and Marcel. You said you came for what's yours, he said. Then listen close. You'll get nothing from this house again. Marcel sneered. You gonna stop me? The woman in the blazer lifted her phone. Sir, your name is now listed in an active fraud inquiry. You can walk out peacefully, or wait for the officers we already notified. Marcel's grin faltered. You lying. Amara nodded toward the corner where the cameraman had quietly started recording again. The red light blinked. No, she said. We document everything now. Marcel's swagger drained. He backed up a step, eyes darting from the camera to the window. He hissed under his breath. You all don't know who you playing with. He turned for the door. Amara's voice stopped him cold. You mean the same people whose accounts you drained? Whose kids' tuition you stole through fake investment apps? The police know exactly who you are now, Marcel. They'll be at your apartment before sunrise. He spun, fury flashing. You set me up? She didn't blink. No. You set yourself up. I just turned on the light. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. Then Marcel cursed under his breath, slammed the door open and disappeared into the night. The house exhaled. Theo rubbed his face. Amara, you called the police? She nodded. Before I ever bought the debt. I gave them names. Marcel's. Yours. Even the shell companies. Theo sank deeper into his chair. So it's over? Amara looked at the documents spread across the table. No. It's just beginning. I'm done cleaning messes. Now we rebuild, or we walk away clean. Darius sat down slowly, the weight of everything pressing into his chest. You really did all this? I did, she said. For us. But tonight I learned something too, Darius. Love without respect turns into labor. He looked at her, eyes wet but proud. You could have left. Why stay to fix it? Because I wanted to see who you'd be once the noise stopped, she said softly. Maybe now we'll find out. Silence filled the space between them again, but this time it wasn't angry, it was fragile, waiting. The woman in the blazer began gathering her files. My work here is done for tonight. Mrs. Cole, I'll process the final forms in the morning. Thank you, Amara said. As the officials left, Theo rose awkwardly. I'll head out too. I'll fix what I can. I swear. Amara gave him a quiet nod. You have 14 days. He left without another word. When the door closed behind them, only Amara and Darius remained. The house was still. The ticking clock on the wall filled the silence. Darius finally whispered, Amara? I don't know how to fix what I broke. She looked at him. Then start by not breaking anything else. He nodded, eyes glistening. She picked up the repayment document, laid it in front of him again, and this time he reached for the pen. But before the pen touched paper, his phone buzzed. The caller ID read, unknown number. He frowned. Who's calling this late? Amara glanced at the clock. It's past midnight. He hesitated, then answered. Hello. A deep voice crackled through. Mr. Cole? This is Detective Raymond from Atlanta Metro Fraud Division. We have a few follow-up questions. We need you and your wife to come down to the station tomorrow morning. Darius's face went pale. Why? The detective's voice was steady. It concerns a money trail leading back to one of Marcel's shell accounts. A large transfer in your name. Darius froze. Amara's eyes widened. What money trail? She asked. The detective paused. Ma'am, it appears one of the debts you recently purchased was used to launder stolen funds. We need to confirm your involvement. The line went silent. Darius stared at her. Amara, what did you buy? She slowly set the phone on speaker, her hands trembling for the first time that night. The detective's next words sent chills through the room. Mrs. Cole, he said, we believe your husband wasn't Marcel's only partner. Comment below where you're watching from and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for the next shocking chapter of this story. The phone call ended, but the silence it left behind was loud enough to drown the night. Amara stood motionless. The soft hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen and the ticking wall clock were the only sounds daring to exist. Darius still clutched the phone as though it were a piece of burning coal. They said, my name is on the transfer? Amara's voice was barely a whisper. That's what he said. He looked up, panic blooming in his eyes. Amara, I swear to God, I don't know anything about that. I didn't touch any stolen money. I didn't? Then how did it get in your name? She asked, her tone not accusing but steady, like someone reading a balance sheet and finding numbers that didn't add up. I don't know. Darius cried, pacing across the room. Maybe Marcel did something. Maybe Theo? He stopped mid-sentence, a terrible thought crossing his face. Wait. The sneaker shop, when I opened the account for it, Marcel said he'd handle the paperwork. He probably used it. Amara's brow furrowed. That was almost 3 years ago, Darius? He nodded quickly. Exactly. He must have kept it active. He had my information. I never closed the business account. Amara sank into a chair, her hand pressing against her forehead. So, your name is still tied to whatever he's doing? Yeah, Darius said, voice trembling. But they think we're part of it. That's bad, Amara. Really bad. She closed her eyes, remembering how the detective's voice had sounded, calm, precise, but heavy with implication. We believe your husband wasn't Marcel's only partner. The words replayed again and again, each time cutting deeper. Morning came too early. The sun spilled through the curtains like a judge's gavel, exposing everything it touched. Amara didn't sleep. She sat by the window wearing her housecoat, watching a neighbor sweep her driveway. Darius came out of the bedroom dressed in a plain shirt and jeans. He looked smaller than usual, like the weight of his lies and truths had pressed his shoulders inward. I called Detective Raymond, he said quietly. We're supposed to be there by 9. Amara nodded, her voice distant. I already made breakfast. They ate in silence, dry toast, black coffee. No taste. No color. Just necessity. Halfway through the meal, Darius looked up. Do you hate me? Amara didn't answer immediately. Her eyes stayed on her plate. Then she said, I don't hate you, Darius. But I don't recognize you anymore. He flinched, as though the words had more weight than anger ever could. The police station was cold and smelled faintly of disinfectant. A wall of glass separated the reception area from the hallway leading to the interrogation rooms. Detective Raymond was waiting, a tall, brown-skinned man in a gray suit with tired eyes that had seen too much truth to be fooled easily. Mr. and Mrs. Cole, he greeted, shaking both their hands. Thanks for coming. Darius nodded nervously. We came as soon as you called. Good, Raymond said. This won't take long if everything's clear. He motioned them into a small interview room. A folder sat on the table, a recorder blinking red beside it. Raymond opened the folder. Mr. Cole, your name appears on 2 recent bank transfers, both from an account registered under the now-defunct Darius and Son footwear business. The funds originated from an offshore shell company tied to Marcel Ibuka. Darius rubbed his face. I didn't authorize any transfers. That account was his idea. I forgot it even existed. Raymond nodded slowly. That's believable, except for one problem. He slid a printed statement across the table. Amara leaned forward and froze. The transfer authorization bore Darius's electronic signature. Date, 2 weeks ago. Amount, $47,500. Recipient, Amara Cole, debt purchase account. Her own name. Her heart sank. She stared at Darius. Darius, what is this? He blinked, then shook his head violently. I didn't send that. I swear. Amara, I didn't. Raymond raised a hand. Mrs. Cole, the The deposit came into the same account you used to buy your husband's debts. Did you know this money was linked to Marcel's shell company? No, she stammered. The seller said it was a legitimate transfer. It looked clean. Raymond scribbled notes. We'll verify that. But right now, it looks like someone used that transaction to wash stolen funds. Amara's stomach twisted. The air felt thinner. Detective, she said softly, are we suspects? Raymond's eyes softened a bit. You're both persons of interest. But from what I've seen so far, Mrs. Cole, you're not the kind of woman who knows how to move 47 grand through an offshore route. He looked at Darius. The question is, who gave permission? Darius's voice cracked. Not me. Marcel must have had access. Maybe, Raymond said. But if so, you gave it to him. And that's negligence we can't ignore. He closed the folder and leaned back. Mr. Cole, Mrs. Cole, I'm not arresting you. Not yet. But don't leave town. We'll need your statements again when we find Marcel. He stood, signaling the end of the meeting. As they walked out, Amara felt numb. The hallway stretched forever. Outside, the sun was bright but unforgiving. Amara, please, Darius begged as they reached the car. You gotta believe me. I didn't send that money. She didn't look at him. Then who did? I don't know. He slammed his hands on the car roof. Why won't you believe me? She turned, her voice calm but cutting. Because, Darius, I believed you when you said the sneaker shop was real. I believed you when you said the debt collectors were lying. I believed you when you said you'd change. And every time, believing you cost me something. Her words landed like stones. He backed away slowly, his voice breaking. I messed up, Amara. I know that. But please don't give up on me now. She opened the car door. I'm not giving up. I'm just tired of bleeding for someone who keeps reopening the wound. They drove home in silence. By evening, the story had spread. Theo texted her once, Marcel's gone. They can't find him. Gone. That single word chilled her. If Marcel had vanished, who else had access to that transfer? Who knew her bank details? She opened her laptop and began checking her records. Every email, every invoice, every receipt. And then she saw it. An email from Debt Holdings Limited, the company she'd used to buy Darius's debts. The address looked normal, but the sender domain was slightly off. Instead of .com, it was .co. Her pulse spiked. She opened it. It thanked her for her successful purchase and included a link to confirm payment. The same link that triggered the $47,500 transfer. It wasn't a company. It was a trap. Her hands trembled. Oh my God. She realized it too late. Marcel hadn't disappeared. He had outsmarted them one last time. And now the law thought she was his partner. That night, Amara sat on the edge of the bed, staring into the dark. Darius sat beside her, his head in his hands. What do we do now? He asked, voice hollow. She looked up, eyes wet but fierce. We find him. Before the police do. Darius frowned. What? You heard me, she said, standing. If we don't clear our names, they'll make us the villains in Marcel's story. We find him, Darius, and we make him tell the truth. He stood too uncertain. You're talking about chasing a criminal? She faced him fully. I'm talking about ending the nightmare I've been living since I married you. Her words burned through the quiet like fire through dry grass. And as the night deepened, Amara picked up her phone and dialed a number she hadn't called in years. Her cousin, Ifeoma, an IT specialist in Abuja who once told her, if anyone ever plays you, call me before you call the police. When Ifeoma's sleepy voice answered, Amara's tone was clear, cold, and determined. Ifeoma, she said, I need you to help me track someone. His name is Marcel Ibuka, and he just made me the face of his crime. Rain fell hard that night, smearing the windows with crooked streaks that caught flashes of light from passing cars. The storm had come uninvited, loud, angry, and alive, much like the chaos inside Amara's heart. She sat by the dining table with her laptop open, a cup of untouched tea steaming beside her. The glow from the screen illuminated her tired face. Darius paced restlessly in the background, mumbling words she couldn't hear. Amara, Ifeoma's voice came through the laptop speaker, sharp and alert despite the late hour. I've traced the IP address from that fake company email. It didn't come from Nigeria or the US. Then where? Amara asked, leaning forward. Ghana. Accra specifically, Ifeoma said, fingers tapping rapidly on her keyboard. But it was rerouted through a VPN. Whoever sent that message knows how to hide. Darius stopped pacing. Ghana? You think Marcel's there? Ifeoma nodded. That's what it looks like. I cross-checked his old business profiles and found a new company name registered 3 weeks ago, Brightway Investment Partners. Guess who's listed as a silent partner? Amara's heart skipped. Who? Your husband, Ifeoma said quietly. Darius froze. What? That's impossible. Not impossible, Ifeoma replied. Just identity theft, or a setup. Either way, your name's in Ghana's registry. If you don't clear that, Interpol could get involved. The words landed heavy. Interpol. International. Prison. Amara rubbed her temples. Ifeoma, can you get me the address linked to the registration? I already did, Ifeoma said. It's an office complex near East Legon. I'll email it to you. But Amara, her tone softened, you need to be careful. Marcel's not just a scammer. He runs with dangerous people. You shouldn't go there alone. Amara nodded slowly. I won't. When the call ended, silence filled the house again. Darius sat across from her, eyes dark and unreadable. You're not thinking of actually going there, are you? She met his gaze. Yes, Darius. I am. He stood quickly. Amara, no. That's another country. You could get hurt. We can't just hop on a plane and confront a criminal. Her tone hardened. We don't have a choice. The detective thinks we're partners in his crime. Every minute we wait, the story cements. I can't spend my life behind bars for something I didn't do. Then let the police handle it. She turned sharply toward him. The same police who already see us as suspects? No, Darius. I'm done letting other people decide our fate. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. You're serious. I'm past serious, she said. I'm fighting for my freedom. The next morning they packed light, one small suitcase each. Amara left a note on the kitchen counter for her neighbor, Mrs. Beasy, explaining they'd be away for a few days. She didn't mention why. At the airport, Darius kept checking over his shoulder, half expecting to see police waiting. But no one came. They boarded the flight to Accra quietly, blending into the crowd of travelers. As the plane lifted off, Amara stared out the window. The city lights below looked like broken jewelry scattered across the earth. She thought about the years she had spent cleaning offices, baking bread, serving tables. 5 jobs, all to pay off the debts of a man who now sat beside her in silence. Amara, Darius said after a long while. Why didn't you leave me? She didn't turn to him. Because I thought you were worth saving. I thought love could fix everything. He swallowed. And now? She finally looked at him. Now I'm trying to save myself. Accra greeted them with humid air and the distant rhythm of life. Cars honking, sellers shouting, rain still clinging to the morning sky. Ifeoma had connected Amara with a friend named Kojo, a tech consultant who owed her a favor. He met them outside the airport in a silver Toyota. You must be Amara, he said, offering a warm but cautious smile. Ifeoma told me what's happening. You're brave for coming here. Bravery has nothing to do with it, Amara said. I'm desperate. Kojo nodded. Fair enough. The office you're looking for is about 30 minutes away. But if Marcel's still running scams, he'll have security, or worse. They drove through the bustling city, past street vendors selling plantains and fried yam, past billboards advertising real estate and mobile data. The world outside felt alive, but inside the car was heavy with dread. When they reached East Legon, Kojo parked a block away from the address. The building was sleek, glass-walled, with a gold sign that read Brightway Investment Partners. Darius frowned. Looks legit. Kojo smirked. That's how fraudsters survive. They look cleaner than the people they rob. Amara took a deep breath. Let's go. They walked inside. A young receptionist greeted them politely, her smile professional. Good morning. Do you have an appointment? Yes, Amara said calmly. Tell Mr. Marcel Ibuka that Amara Cole is here to see him. The receptionist blinked, uncertain. One moment, please. She picked up the phone and dialed a number. As they waited, Darius whispered, What if he runs? Amara's lips tightened. Then we follow. The receptionist hung up. He'll see you, she said. Kojo's eyebrows shot up. That was fast. They followed her up a flight of stairs. The air conditioning was cold, too cold. Every step felt like walking into a trap. At the top of the stairs, a glass door opened to a private office. Marcel stood behind a mahogany desk, smiling like a man expecting guests. Well, he said, clapping slowly. Look who crossed borders for me. Amara stepped forward, her jaw set. You used my husband's name. You framed us. Marcel leaned back in his chair. Framed? No, darling. I paid you. That transfer you're crying about, It cleared your debts, didn't it? You laundered money through me, she shouted. You turned my name into your cover. He chuckled. That's business, Amara. You should thank me. You got what you wanted, freedom? Darius's voice trembled with rage. You ruined us. Marcel stood slowly, his grin fading. You ruined yourselves. I just gave you the rope to hang your pride. Amara's hands clenched at her sides. You're going to fix this. You'll tell the police I had nothing to do with your crimes. Marcel tilted his head. And why would I do that? Kojo, standing near the door, quietly pressed a button on his phone, recording. Amara took a step closer. Because if you don't, everything you built will burn. I have proof of your fake companies, your transactions, your aliases. I sent copies to 3 lawyers and 1 journalist. If anything happens to me, or if you don't clear my name, they'll publish everything. For the first time, Marcel's confidence wavered. His eyes narrowed. You wouldn't. Amara's voice was calm, deadly calm. Try me. The room went silent except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. Then Marcel smirked again, but the edge in his smile had dulled. You're smarter than I thought. He reached for a drawer, pulled out a folder, and tossed it onto the desk. There. Bank records. Signed statements. Everything you need to prove you were never part of this. Take it and get out. Amara didn't move. Why now? Marcel shrugged. Because sometimes even a wolf knows when he's cornered. Kojo quickly gathered the papers, scanning them. These look real. Amara's chest rose and fell. She turned to leave, but before she reached the door, Marcel's voice followed her. Be careful, Amara, he said, smirking again. Every truth you uncover comes with a new lie hiding behind it. She paused but didn't look back. Outside, the sun was blinding, the heat thick around them. Darius walked beside her in silence as they got into the car. Kojo handed her the folder. You did it? This clears your name. Amara looked down at the papers, her reflection faint in the glossy cover. Maybe, she said quietly. But something still feels wrong. What do you mean? Darius asked. She flipped to the last page and froze. At the bottom of the document, next to Marcel's signature, was another name. Darius Cole. Darius's face went pale. Amara, I swear, I never signed that. She looked up slowly, her voice trembling. Then who did? Kojo started the car, glancing nervously at the rearview mirror. Because in that mirror, a black SUV had just pulled out from behind them, its tinted windows glinting like eyes. And it was following them. The road out of East Legan shimmered beneath the afternoon sun, but Amara's heart was colder than steel. The SUV behind them moved with eerie precision, never too close, never too far. Like a shadow learning how to breathe. Kojo, she said quietly, eyes locked on the mirror. Don't speed. Just keep driving. Kojo's knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. They've been behind us since the office. I know. Darius turned to look. You think it's Marcel's men? Kojo gave a small, humorless laugh. In this business, people like Marcel always have men. Amara's mind raced. The folder lay open on her lap, its papers trembling slightly from the car's motion. She flipped through the pages again, staring at the forged signature beside Darius's name. Whoever faked this, she said, did it perfectly. The handwriting, the date, everything. Darius leaned closer, voice low. Could Marcel have done it? Maybe, she replied. Or maybe someone else used him as a cover. Kojo turned down a side street and parked abruptly in front of a small cafe. We need to get off the main road. That SUV's too deliberate. They hurried inside, sitting near the back window. The cafe smelled of roasted coffee and buttered bread. Normal. Too normal for the kind of danger circling outside. Darius watched through the window as the black SUV rolled past slowly, then disappeared around the corner. Amara exhaled. For now we're clear. Kojo pulled out his tablet. Let's scan those documents. He snapped quick photos, his fingers flying across the screen. If the metadata shows where and when this file was created, we might find who forged the signature. He paused, squinting. Wait, this can't be right. Amara leaned forward. What? These files weren't created in Ghana, Kojo said. They were generated from a system registered to Atlanta. Atlanta. Darius repeated. That's where we live. Amara's chest tightened. Who in Atlanta would? She stopped, realization dawning. Theo. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Kojo, check for any user ID or embedded initials in the document metadata. He typed quickly, scrolling. There's something. 2 letters. TW. Theo Wells. Amara sank back into her chair. Her voice trembled, half fury, half disbelief. He was working with Marcel the whole time. Darius's face turned red with anger. That snake. He played me, he played us both. Kojo looked up sharply. If that's true, he's still in Atlanta. You can clear your names by proving he forged the file. Amara's eyes burned with resolve. Then that's where we go next. That night, they flew back to Atlanta on the last available flight. Amara barely slept, her mind replaying every moment with Theo, the friendly smiles, the fake advice, the casual betrayals disguised as help. By the time they landed, dawn was just brushing the horizon. The city looked tired, half asleep, unaware of the storm about to wake it. They drove straight to Theo's apartment complex on the east side, the streets still damp from an early morning drizzle. Kojo, ever cautious, parked 2 blocks away. You sure about this? He asked. Amara nodded. We can't wait for the police. If we don't get that confession, we'll never prove Marcel used us. She tucked a small voice recorder into her purse and straightened her jacket. I'll talk to him. Darius, you stay behind me. Don't say a word unless I tell you to. Darius nodded grimly. They walked up to the apartment door, number 2B. Amara knocked once. Then twice. Footsteps shuffled behind the door. A lock clicked. Theo opened it, his face pale, eyes wide like a man who hadn't slept. Amara, he stammered. You're back. She stepped past him before he could react. We need to talk. Theo swallowed, closing the door behind them. The apartment was cluttered, half-empty bottles, takeout boxes, and unmade couch bed. His laptop sat open on the table. I told you, he began nervously, I was going to pay back the church money. This isn't about that, Amara cut in. This is about the forged documents. The ones you made to tie my name to Marcel's crime. Theo froze. Darius took a step forward. Don't lie, Theo. We know. Theo laughed shakily, but the sound didn't reach his eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. Amara dropped the folder on the table. You forged my husband's signature. These papers came from your system. Your initials are in the metadata. Theo's mouth twitched. That's impossible. Stop pretending. Amara snapped. We traced it. Marcel's gone, and now the police think we're part of his operation. You can fix this before it destroys all of us. Theo rubbed his temples, breathing fast. I didn't mean for it to go that far, he said quietly. I thought it was quick money. Marcel said no one would get hurt. Amara's voice trembled. You dragged us into a crime, Theo? You nearly ruined my life. Theo's eyes darted toward the laptop. I can fix it, he said quickly. I have backups, emails, recordings, contracts. Proof Marcel set everything up. If the police see that, they'll know you're innocent. Then show us, Amara said. Theo hesitated. It's encrypted. I need my access code. Darius's voice was sharp. Then unlock it now. Theo sat at the desk, fingers shaking as he typed. Lines of code flashed across the screen. After a few seconds, a folder appeared labeled, Brightway Docs. He clicked it open, and froze. The folder was empty. No, he whispered. No. They're gone. What do you mean gone? Amara demanded. I had everything here, Theo said, panic rising. Marcel must have wiped it remotely. Kojo stepped closer, scanning the screen. There's a remote wipe log here from 3 hours ago. Amara's stomach dropped. He knew we were coming. Theo slammed his fist on the table. He's not going to leave any trace. The air in the apartment shifted. Amara's skin prickled. She turned toward the window and saw a figure across the street. A man in a dark hoodie standing perfectly still, watching them. Kojo saw him too. Amara, he said quietly, we need to go. Now. Theo turned pale. That's one of Marcel's guys. He's been hanging around for days. Why didn't you call the police? Darius shouted. Because I thought he was just watching. Theo cried. Amara grabbed Theo's wrist. Get your things. You're coming with us. You're going to tell the detective everything. But before they could move, glass shattered, the sound sharp and violent. A bullet tore through the window, embedding itself in the wall above Theo's desk. Everyone dropped to the floor. Down? Kojo yelled, pulling Amara behind the couch. Theo was shaking uncontrollably. He's trying to kill me. Another shot cracked. The lights flickered. Darius grabbed Amara's hand. We have to get out. Kojo pointed toward the back door. Go. Now. They crawled low, shards of glass crunching beneath them. Kojo kicked open the door, and they stumbled into the narrow alley behind the building. Rain had started again, soft but steady. Run. Amara shouted. They sprinted through puddles, down the dark alley until they reached Kojo's car parked 2 blocks away. As they jumped in, another gunshot echoed behind them. Kojo hit the accelerator. The tires screeched against the wet road. Inside the car, Theo clutched his chest, gasping. He won't stop until we're dead. Amara turned to him, her voice low but fierce. Then we make sure the truth gets out before he can bury it. Kojo's phone buzzed. He looked down briefly, then up at the rearview mirror, his face drained of color. What? Amara asked. He swallowed. Detective Raymond just texted me. Marcel's been found. Darius's breath caught. Where? Kojo met Amara's eyes in the mirror. He's dead. The rain hadn't stopped. It drummed hard against the car roof as if heaven itself was angry. Kojo's voice trembled as he drove. Detective Raymond said Marcel's body was found in a warehouse outside Accra. Gunshot wound. No witnesses. Amara sat still, staring blankly at the windshield, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. He's dead. Kojo nodded. Yes. And there's more. Interpol is opening a joint investigation. They think Marcel was part of a network moving millions across borders. Theo's face went pale. Then we're finished. They'll come for us next. Darius's jaw tightened. Not if we prove we didn't touch his money. Kojo took a deep breath. There's a bigger problem. Someone tipped off the police in Ghana before Marcel was killed. Someone who knew exactly where he was. Amara's gaze shifted to Theo. You knew, didn't you? Theo looked horrified. What? No. I didn't tell anyone. Darius grabbed his collar. Then how did they find him so fast after we confronted him? Theo struggled to breathe. I swear I didn't. I was scared, that's all. I thought if I stayed quiet I'd stay safe. Amara's voice sliced through the chaos. Safe from what, Theo? Marcel's people, or the police? Theo didn't answer. Kojo pulled the car to the side of the road and turned in his seat. Enough running. We need to go to Detective Raymond now. Tell him everything before he hears it from someone else. Darius shook his head. We can't walk into a station right after Marcel's been murdered. They'll think we did it. Amara looked at him sharply. And if we run, they'll know we did it. Theo held his face in his hands, whispering over and over, We're dead, we're dead, we're dead. Kojo started the car again. We're not dead. Not yet. But if any of you lie to me or to that detective, we'll all go down together. No one spoke after that. The car moved through the gray Atlanta streets like a ghost slipping through fog. Detective Raymond's office was tense when they arrived. 2 officers stood by the door, their eyes sharp and silent. Mrs. Cole. Mr. Cole, Raymond said as they entered. And Mr. Wells. I was wondering when you'd show up. Amara tried to steady her voice. Detective, we didn't kill Marcel. Raymond studied her for a long moment before responding. I believe you. Theo blinked. You do. Raymond opened a folder on his desk. Inside were photographs, Marcel's lifeless body, the gun, and a phone beside it. Because the forensics team found something on Marcel's phone. Voice messages. To you, Mr. Wells. Theo froze. Raymond hit play. Marcel's voice, recording. Theo, I told you to lay low. Don't drag your friends into this. If you open your mouth again, I'll make sure you disappear before they ever find me. Another message followed. Marcel, I know you sent my files to that woman. You think she's gonna save you? She'll bury you when she realizes the money came from your account. Theo's eyes went wide. That's not true. He's lying. I didn't send him money. Raymond leaned back. Then explain this. He pulled out a bank statement. The highlighted section showed a $10,000 wire transfer, from Theo's account, to one of Marcel's shell companies. Darius exploded. You lied again. Theo jumped up, panicking. Listen to me. I didn't know where it was going. Marcel said it was an investment. He said. Sit down. Raymond barked. Theo sank into the chair, trembling. Amara's voice was low but cutting. So you did help him. You helped frame us. Theo shook his head, tears spilling down his face. I didn't mean to. I swear. When Marcel asked for your husband's documents, I thought it was just part of the business deal. I didn't know he'd use it to frame you both. By the time I realized it was too late. Raymond stared at him for a long moment, then turned to Amara. Mrs. Cole, your name's been cleared from the account transfers. The bank verified the funds were placed without your authorization. Relief washed through her like a wave, but it didn't last long. Raymond's eyes darkened. But we still have a problem. The same fake company that sent you that money also sent another transfer, 2 days ago, To your husband's personal account. The room went still. Amara turned slowly toward Darius. What? Darius looked confused, then defensive. That's impossible. I don't even use that account anymore. Raymond opened another document. $50,000. Deposited directly. Same route. Same shell company. Darius's face drained of color. No. No. That's not mine. Theo looked at him in shock. You mean to tell me Marcel was still using you, after he was dead? Kojo frowned. Unless someone else has access. Raymond closed the file. Mr. Cole, we'll need to hold you overnight for questioning. This money connects you to an active international fraud case. Amara stepped forward. Detective, he's innocent. Marcel probably set that up before he died. Raymond shook his head. Maybe. But until we prove that, he's part of the case. Two officers moved forward. Darius backed away, eyes wide. Amara, please, tell them I didn't do this. Amara's throat tightened. Darius. Raymond nodded at the officers. Escort him. They took Darius by the arms. His voice broke as they led him out. Amara, don't let them bury me like this. The door closed. The echo stayed behind. Hours later, Amara sat alone in her car outside the station. The city lights blurred through her tears. Kojo sat in the passenger seat, quiet. Theo had been detained too, his confession enough to keep him locked until the full investigation ended. Amara clutched the folder Marcel had given her in Ghana. She opened it again, staring at the documents until her vision blurred. Then something caught her eye, tiny print at the bottom of one page. A code. Not numbers but letters. A string that looked random, SAV014KG. Kojo leaned closer. That's a file tag. Marcel must have used it to label digital copies. If we can access the original drive, maybe we can see who last touched it. Where would he keep something like that? Amara asked. Kojo thought for a moment. Maybe, somewhere he thought no one would look. Amara's eyes widened. His car. The Mustang. Kojo frowned. But the car was repossessed and sold, right? Yes, she said slowly, to a collector in Marietta. The woman who bought it messaged me after the papers transferred. She said she'd let me visit if I ever wanted to see it one last time. Kojo's lips parted. Then that's where we go. Amara started the engine, determination burning through her fear. But as they pulled into traffic, her phone buzzed with a new message. It was from an unknown number. Stop looking for what you don't understand. You're next. The car fell silent. Kojo whispered, Amara, who could have sent that? She stared at the message, her jaw tightening. Someone who still has something to hide. The rain outside turned heavier, wrapping the car in a gray curtain as they sped toward Marietta, unaware that the truth waiting inside that Mustang would destroy everything she thought she knew. The night had swallowed the highway whole. Headlights sliced through the rain as Amara's car sped toward Marietta. The wipers squeaked across the windshield, fighting the storm. Every sound, the rumble of thunder, the hiss of the tires, felt like a countdown. Kojo's voice was tense. You sure the collector still has the Mustang? She texted me last week, Amara said. Said it was stored in her private garage for restoration. If Marcel hid anything inside, it might still be there. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. You were warned. Turn back. She tightened her grip on the steering wheel. He's watching us. Kojo leaned toward the window, eyes scanning the mirrors. Or she, he murmured. You still think Marcel was the only mastermind? Amara didn't answer. Deep down she already felt it. Marcel had been a pawn in a larger game. They arrived at a gated estate on the outskirts of Marietta just before midnight. A wide security light blinked to life as they approached, revealing rows of parked classic cars glistening under the drizzle. A woman in a silk robe stepped out of the doorway, her hair wrapped in a scarf. She was tall, elegant, and in her 50s, with sharp eyes that measured people the way a jeweler studies diamonds. Mrs. Cole? She asked. Amara nodded. Yes. I'm so sorry to bother you this late. The woman smiled faintly. You said you once owned the Mustang. Something sentimental, I believe? Yes, Amara said softly. There's something I need to check inside it. Something my husband left behind. The woman studied her face, then nodded toward the garage. Follow me. Inside, the Mustang gleamed under a single hanging light. Its white paint still carried the shine of Darius's devotion, but there was a strange stillness about it now, as if it remembered everything that had been taken. Amara ran her hand along the hood. He loved this car more than himself. Kojo crouched near the driver's side, examining the seams. If Marcel hid something here, he'd choose somewhere discreet, panel gaps under the seat or the spare tire compartment. The woman leaned against the door frame, curious but silent. Kojo popped open the trunk. Nothing but the original mat. He ran his hand along the edge, then stopped. Wait, something's taped under here. He peeled back a section of the trunk lining and pulled out a small waterproof pouch, sealed tight. Inside was a black flash drive. Amara's breath caught. That has to be it. The woman stepped closer. You found what you were looking for? Amara nodded, her hands trembling. Yes. Thank you for letting me see it. But before they could leave, the woman's tone changed, smooth, almost too calm. Funny, she said, I didn't expect you to actually find it. Kojo froze. What do you mean? She smiled faintly. Because I already searched that car myself. Amara's stomach tightened. You what? The woman took a step forward. Marcel was sloppy. He owed me more than he could ever repay. So when he died, I made sure his unfinished business stayed buried. Kojo's voice hardened. Who are you? The woman tilted her head, eyes glinting under the garage light. Marcel's partner. His silent investor. And if you've just found that drive, you've found something that was never meant to see daylight. Amara's pulse quickened. What's on it? The woman chuckled. Names, accounts, and one particularly inconvenient truth about your husband. Amara stared at her. What truth? The woman's smile widened. That Darius wasn't framed. He was part of it from the start. The words sliced through the air like a blade. Amara shook her head. You're lying. The woman shrugged. You'll see for yourself. The flash drive holds transactions, his digital signature approving every one. He and Marcel built Brightway together. Your husband was never the victim, Mrs. Cole. He was the architect. Kojo stepped in front of Amara. If that's true, why warn her to stop looking? Because, the woman said softly, you can't expose the truth without burning with it. She pulled a small pistol from her robe pocket. Kojo tensed. Easy. Hand over the drive, she said, her voice steady, elegant, deadly. You don't understand what you're holding. Amara's fear flickered into fury. I understand perfectly. You think you can scare me into silence? I've lived through worse than your threats. The woman smirked. You don't have to die for your husband's sins. Kojo whispered, Amara, give it to her. We'll find another way. But Amara didn't move. She stared straight into the woman's eyes. You said Darius was part of it. Prove it. The woman hesitated for a moment, lowering the gun slightly. You think I came here without evidence? She reached into her robe with her free hand, pulling out a folded paper, photocopies of signed contracts, Darius's name printed beside Marcel's. Amara's throat tightened. The signatures matched. Every one. Her hands shook as she whispered, He lied to me, all this time. Yes, the woman said quietly. He made you pay off his debts because he needed clean money. You worked 5 jobs while he washed dirty ones. Amara's knees went weak. The floor felt like it was tilting beneath her. Kojo reached for her arm, steadying her. Amara, we need to go. The woman's gun snapped back up. Not with my drive, you don't. A voice cut through the air from behind her. Put it down. It was Detective Raymond, standing at the entrance with 2 officers, weapons drawn. The woman's eyes flickered, surprise breaking her calm. How? Raymond stepped forward. You should have stayed in Accra, Mrs. Mensah. We traced your messages hours ago. Her smile faded. So, it's over. Raymond nodded. For you, yes. She looked at Amara one last time. You think you won, but remember, truth doesn't save marriages. It destroys them. Then she dropped the gun and raised her hands. Hours later, back at the police station, Amara sat across from Detective Raymond. The flash drive was plugged into his computer. Lines of data filled the screen, thousands of transfers, all signed by Darius's digital ID. Raymond exhaled heavily. She was right. Your husband wasn't framed. He was Marcel's partner all along. Amara's voice was barely a whisper. He made me pay his debts, to clean his stolen money. Raymond nodded sadly. You were the perfect cover, hardworking, innocent, believable. Amara stared at the floor, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. All the nights she'd spent working 5 jobs, all the shame, all the exhaustion, it had all been a lie built by the man she loved. Raymond's voice softened. You're free now, Amara. Truly free. She nodded, but her face showed no relief. Freedom doesn't feel like this. He looked at her with quiet understanding. Sometimes the price of truth is peace. Days later, Amara stood by the riverside at dawn, the flash drive in her hand. The water shimmered gold under the first light. She opened her palm, staring at the small black object, the proof of her pain, her betrayal, and her strength. Then, without another word, she threw it into the river. The ripples spread, soft and wide, until the surface calmed again. Amara wiped her face, straightened her shoulders, and walked away from the water. She didn't know what her future held, but for the first time in years she was walking toward it on her own terms.